Hello. This is going to be chapter 1, lesson 1 of Richard Tisch and Bill McCann's little booklet called Who's Afraid of Braille Music? And this is just like a walkthrough stroke additional ideas or why things are the way they are. I can offer experience from a musician's perspective, why they're using solfege and not alphabetic letters and things like that. Why they're having, like in this first lesson, why do they have to use piano? Why not, some other instrument? And it is, everything in here is really, really logically laid out. And also, just there isn't a lot of information for blind musicians, book reviews, or just what is out there. And I'm hoping to help facilitate in some of that and offer some of my own I wouldn't say expertise because I'm not an expert in anything, but offering what advice that I could give other people. So yeah. Okay, so okay, so lesson 1. Let's read through lesson 1 and see what this lesson is going to cover. So lesson 1, the materials or the items you'll need is a piano. If you don't have a piano, just like a keyboard. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It does have to be physical. Virtual piano, like something you would download on your tablet. It wouldn't work if the student cannot see. And even if they can see, to use that instrument or device on the tablet, it is going to work a lot better if they have a physical instrument where they can literally feel the keys. And there's a lot of things that is used. The piano, meaning piano is used in a lot of different ways, and to be able to feel the keys is gonna help with the geography of learning where things are at. Okay, so let's read this first couple paragraphs here. He says, there are many sighted people who desire to teach or learn Braille music who never have seen printed music or who know very little about music in general. For this reason, we will not include print music for the sighted tutor or for the student, basically. In this book, the location of middle C on the piano is all that is needed. Translation from print to Braille music will come later. Remember that you are not learning to play the piano here, but to understand how music is made. Once the notes are understood on the piano, you can apply what you have learned to any instrument you like. And this is what I was talking about with why they're using piano and not something else. Now this is looking at it from like just beginning to read music. The piano is, not only is it good for compositional instrument. I mean, hundreds and thousands of music written for the instrument of the piano, harpsichord, and the whole keyboard family there. Um, but also, the 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 instrument is also really good for teaching, like, theory, in the sense of intervals, understanding what a half step is, understanding what a whole step is, understanding a major chord from a minor chord, understanding harmonic progressions, understanding advanced chords, German sixth chords, and augmented sixth chords, and seventh chords, and diminished chords, and all these chords that you learn later. You learn later on. But scales, understanding how different scales are built. To understand how scales are built, you have to know how key signatures work. And to understand how key signatures work, you have to be able to understand how the scale is built. To understand the different modes, the Dorian, the Ionian, I can never say the word, the Ionian, the Mixolydian, all these different things, all these different facets of music, harmony, melody, rhythm, counterpoint. There is so much in music that can be taught via the piano. And this is one of the reasons why they use the piano. So here, we're not going to be learning we're not going to be learning how to read music yet. In this lesson, we're just going to be learning where do, re, mi, fa, and sol are on the piano. And what they have the student do, they have the student take the right hand, and they place the right hand about in the middle of the piano, where middle do is called. Obviously here they have where is middle C. That pitch C, we're going to call it do. And even in the book here, the second bullet says, let's call middle C do. So middle C is always going to be do. And any C on the piano keyboard is always going to be do. That is like your first number one, like, golden ticket or whatever. So first you place your thumb on do, on that middle do of the piano. It's to kind of help people out here that don't have, like, a teacher or someone. If you go to I don't know, if you've got really sensitive fingers, you might be able to tell the brand name on the piano. Sometimes they're carved in, sometimes they're just, like, very lightly put on there. On, like, a keyboard or a digital piano, usually there's, like, a screen for, like, a metronome, or a large screen that has, like, different instrument functions and things. Around that area, you're going to feel two black keys, and just to the left of those two black keys, that is going to be middle do. And this actually reminds me, if, say, a student is first learning about music, and you're using this book as kind of to see, is Braille music going to work out? The more hands-on the student has in the beginning stages, the more they will understand what's actually happening. So, like, I just described to you where middle C was. I just, but if you're working with the student, Have the set them at the piano and have them feel the piano keyboard. You can let them play, like press keys, and let them explore the different sounds. Using pedal just to let them see, oh, what does this pedal do? Oh, this pedal makes everything like mushy, or all the sounds all run together. Ooh, this one makes it sound just a little bit softer here in the bass or something. Um, let them explore that stuff. A lot of piano teachers are really hesitant about letting students, especially younger students, explore the piano just to see what can this thing do. The piano is one of the most easiest and probably one of the most challenging instruments to play. Easy because it takes literally nothing to to play the note, to physically press the note, but challenging in the sense that in order to produce a really good tone, you have to have good technique. And most children are, I mean, if you're, not like pounding on the piano, it should be okay. But if they're pounding on the piano, yeah, you might want to hold back on that. Um, but in general, for blind students, let them explore and teach them where middle do is. And you can, use the method. I mean, first I would recommend like getting them acquainted with the two groups of black keys and the three groups, or the group of two and the group of three black keys. Um, and then once you can inquire about that. How do you feel the keyboard is laid out? What do you feel? Do you feel a pattern? Ask them questions so that they can start feeling things and start looking for stuff. Are all the keys at the same level? That would be like a good introduction question. Or how many raised keys do you feel? Again, is there a pattern? Once they understand that there is a pattern, then you can show them where middle do is. And once they're comfortable with knowing where middle do is, you can ask them, can you find another middle do, or another do? Technically, it wouldn't be middle, but ask them if they can find another do. And see how many do's they can find. Can they find all the do's on the piano? And you could technically teach all of the notes of the scale, even though this lesson just covers up to do, re, mi, fa, sol. You could technically teach all the notes just by having them find the notes and being able to play finding all the notes, finding all the do's, finding all the re's, finding all the sols, finding all the la's, finding all the t's, so on and so forth. And finding all these notes and getting really, really comfortable with knowing where these notes are, not just in the middle of the keyboard, but all over the piano. This will greatly help with octave. I wouldn't say octave recognitions, but just when octaves are introduced, they're not going to be like, oh my gosh. But have them learn all the scale. And then once they know where all the notes are on the piano, excluding the black keys, do not teach black keys at this point, it's too early. But once they learn all the notes on this on the scale, on all the white keys, then you could move on with this little booklet here. Place their thumb on middle do, and then have them play the note, and then have them sing the note. I don't have let me see if I could pull up my keyboard. Okay, so I think this might work. I have a virtual piano up here. So the student would put their right thumb on this. I don't know why it's not playing anymore, which is not good. Okay, I can't get my keyboard to play with split screen and stuff, so it's gonna have to go this way. So, what you do is you'd put the finger, the thumb, the right thumb on do. Now, this is not laid out exactly. It's a little bit off, but it works. So you'd put the right thumb on do, and the student would play do, and then they would sing do, do, and then they would play the next key with their pointer finger, and then they would sing it, re, do, re, do, re. And then they would move on to the next key, and they would learn it. This is me, me. And then they could go down, re, do, do, re, mi, re, do. And they could try jumping, do, mi, re, mi, do. And then they would learn fa, fa, re, or mi, fa. And this would be like when you could try to introduce a half step, but it's not really necessary. But try to see if the student can at least learn the difference between re, mi, and mi, fa, fa, mi, re, do. And then they could jump around with these. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, fa, re, mi, do, fa, do. And they could play around with that. Fa, mi, re, do. And once they kind of get acquainted with that, they could learn sol. And they could either start it from the bottom, do, on do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, 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 fa, mi, re, do. And again, they could jump around on different notes. Do, re, do, mi, do, fa, do, sol, 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 fa, sol, mi, sol, re, sol, do. That is kind of like what they would, you could explore with them. The book obviously doesn't have you do all the jumping around and stuff, but at least getting them used to singing the notes and getting them to play the notes. Now, as you could tell with my little playing here, I'm on a virtual piano. And when I went to play this note here, the sol, my finger often slid to fa. If you can see, you can tell that there's little black lines there. On a real piano, those would be felt. But because this is virtual, nothing is tactile. So this is one of the reasons why I would discourage using a virtual piano for learning, especially if a student is just learning. So basically this lesson covered where do, re, mi, fa, and sol are on the piano keyboard. Then you go into lesson 2. But having the student play the notes and singing them will help them start to hear those basic musical things that are used, like intervals and scale steps and half steps and whole steps. You don't have to go and tell them what this stuff is, but at least see if they can identify I wouldn't say identify, but at least tell you if this sound is different than B sound, if that makes any sense. Example, like if I were to play this and then I played this, would the student be able to identify that these two are different intervals? Da, da, fa, mi versus re, do. Things like that is, it's important. But they don't have to know it, but at least if they can start to identify and understand where how I'm trying to figure out how to word this. If they can start to identify that this sound is different, it sounds different. They may not be able to know what it's called. If you want to tell them, go ahead. But if not, that's okay. They will learn it. But at least getting them used to singing the pitches do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, or at least up to sol in this first lesson. But even teaching them all the letters just to identify all the pitches on the piano before they start learning how to identify them by sound and stuff, which is kind of what we were doing. Okay, so that concludes my thoughts on lesson 1 of chapter 1. Next, we will move into lesson 2 of chapter 1. I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to show you, so you'll have to watch it when it comes up.